We're gonna start. We are recording. Okay. Where do you guys want to start?
I don't know, where do we want to start? Do we want to start in, there were some things that in the board meeting the other night that were agreed to, that were in the negotiated agreement that we need to get to no matter what.
Right. Jessica just wrote those down to me.
Yeah.
So there are only two as far as, that's what we were just looking at, so.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
And then, I don't know if this is the right avenue, but are we already making cuts as of today because of that, even though it's not been finalized till the 30th?
Yeah, well, because people are watching the board meeting and they definitely saw positions, so there's been a lot of angst, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
classified.
It's classified staff. I don't think we've had any conversations with, I mean, we're not cutting any certified staff, so,
No.
yeah.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
I've heard that we've already told people.
Yep. So do we want to start with the two areas in the negotiated agreement? Okay, let's go to extra, since we're here, extra days for extra pay for extra duty. There it is. Oh, nope. Those are predetermined extra duty. That's different, right? Is this the language, Jason, for the extra pay for extra duty?
Yeah.
Because it says predetermined advisor. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
The following positions are predetermined.
So,
That's
no.
this.
No, you keep scrolling down.
So I thought that language there referred to.
Oh, right here.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
there it is.
right
Okay.
there.
Okay. Okay, so do we just want to put language there that says suspended for the 24-25 school year?
Do we know, have the schools been using that money, utilizing it to its fullest the last couple of years?
So we have a couple of schools that still have not, and then they've just been using them as fillers. And so I think that total of that spreadsheet, what was it, about $30,000?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it ranges between 30 and 35.
Yeah. I have some schools that have maxed it out and others that haven't.
And I haven't seen the list in a while. I don't know. Are there any positions that are covered under this that's going to create a big angst with the staff in the community by not doing it?
So I have like one school that hasn't even dug into it at all.
Yeah.
Another one, there's two. I have two haven't dug it in so far, one that has a balance, and then three 3 schools that haven't utilized it all and 1 that still has a balance.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, I know the custom thing that, John Brown's been doing is this community garden or whatever, so are they just gonna let that go?
And
is that?
That's a really good example of a school that with how they utilize things. So like that school has been using it for chess enrichment, gardening club, Invent Idaho, juggling, cross country, and they range between a $75 stipend and a $250 stipend.
Yeah. There wasn't much discussion on this at the board meeting. I don't know. I mean, I know it's something that we gotta look at, but
Right.
I just, I don't.
Yeah, I think each school gets such a small amount. These are not significant stipends, for sure. Yeah, we have been puzzling all day today about how to move forward with IBB because typically there's money that we can talk about, and I mean there's no money that we can discuss. It's just a weird place. We've not been here before. And I think the board was trying really hard to find places where we weren't negatively impacting classrooms as much as possible. So.
Yeah, I recommend we put it up and go through the process and discuss.
Do you want to write?
What am I doing?
Okay, so I guess we're writing brainstorms to address the extra pay for extra duty.
With that. Here, give me that, I'll throw it away.
So then, just so the group knows too, we don't have it up on the screen, but the process is we select an issue, we discuss all the interests behind the issue, what are the reasons for it. In this case, what are the reasons for it being cut? I think that's obvious. And then we brainstorm solutions. There isn't an evaluation process yet. All the interests are just up there to be kept in mind, and then we apply it to our standards. We weigh each idea against each standard, and then we write the language to develop a solution for bargaining, and then we all vote. So that's kind of how the process works. If you guys don't know, you can find that in the team or the IBB team thing too. It goes down there. So now it's
So we need to brainstorm.
brainstorming, I guess. We should probably put the boards up there, or the districts that, they want to cut it to save money.
I wouldn't say cut it, I would say suspend it.
Suspend it.
Any other brainstorms?
Just out of curiosity, the 3 schools that don't use the money, how much is on the table right now that they have not used? And the one that hasn't used all of their money, what's left of that?
I have one school that had a full amount of $2,280 they have not used.
I'm mouthing for you, Brooke.
I have another school that had an amount of $3,030 that they have not used. I have a school that has a remaining balance. It originally was $2,220 and their balance is $1,320. I have a school that had a balance of $4,895 that has not used it. Oh, and I do have another school that has a balance of $1,318 actually. And that's that.
That's $12,843 that has been unused for this fiscal year.
How much?
$12,843. So a little less than half.
You know,
And then
but-
can you, up on the top link, can you put 35,000, or is it 30,000?
it is, the total that was allocated was $30,562.50.
50 cents, where'd that come from?
I rounded up
Did you?
to the nearest whole dollar, so it's $30,563 in the budget documents.
Do you think this is, I guess just a brainstorm, but do you think that if we do suspend it for a year, could PTOs or boosters at the secondary level, could they possibly pick up those, if people still want to do that? Is that legal?
They can donate to the district to do that. They cannot pay them themselves. We asked that we keep that extremely separate.
So like if John Brown wanted to keep the garden and the person still would be in charge and get paid, it could go to their PTO, they would pay you the money and then you would.
Run it through payroll.
Run it through
So
payroll.
they give it to you as a donation?
Yes. For that purpose, for the specific purpose, yes. We would prefer PTO booster clubs do not run payroll for our employees.
Just out of curiosity, Brooke, at what point do the administrators have to have those stipends?
Well, we have always
Dispersed.
kept them open for the school year. If there was, you know, something coming up, that was the portion, that was the deal, you know. If there was something big for them that all of a sudden they needed to pay somebody for, let's say, all of a sudden they had after school remediation or whatever, then they could use those. I think personally the reason why they haven't been utilizing them like they had in the past is because when the leadership dollars went away, it put the principals in a position of having to pick and choose of who was going to get a stipend, and so I think they were being very deliberate on how to use that money, so other people didn't feel like they were being slighted. I can tell you, and I don't know, it's up to Jess if she wants to share this. She had a conversation with an employee about how they were a little upset about the extra pay for extra duty going away, and she had a really great explanation.
So, I mean, really truly a lot of these stipends are small dollar amounts, and they're like, but I'm gonna lose. It wasn't with the employee specifically, but an employee that had been shared with, and they were concerned that they were gonna lose that $200. But with what we were able to approve at the board meeting on Monday night, it's, do you want to keep the $200, or would you rather that we're able to provide a step and then provide the increase in benefits, which would help offset the medical insurance cost, that premium increase. And so in the long run, you're actually benefiting more from those two things than a $200 stipend. And so once they look at it that way, they're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I'd much rather have an increase to my pay that is for the full year and help covering the increase in premium for insurance versus a $200 stipend. That's a one-time thing.
Plus they don't have to do that activity again if they don't want to.
Correct.
I would have said, I wanted my cake and eat it too.
I know. That is the theme. but it's just kind of reframing the way that we're looking at it. We have to, as Lisa said, this is kind of not the place the district has been, where we are looking at making cuts and we don't have new money to kind of work with. We're literally cutting money in cutting classified positions, holding vacant positions, pulling them out and stuff in order to provide raises and increase in the share of the premiums.
Yeah.
Typically we've had new money in order to do these things. We don't. And so we're looking at what we can cut in order to make these things happen. And that's not something that we've had to do in recent years. So it is painful and it's uncomfortable and nobody likes it. But in order to make these concessions, something has to give. I don't have a hidden pot of money. It's very, very transparent with what we do with the financials.
You're not like Moses Lake?
I am not. Oh my gosh, that gave me anxiety. I'm sure someone lost their job over
The superintendent. The superintendent did. That was on the news this morning.
Yeah, but it's just honestly, the everything that the district has is presented in our monthly financials. Every penny that we have is there. There is not anything extra hidden. There's nothing. So
they're losing 104 teachers.
Oh my
They just
good
announced
lord.
that this evening. 104.
yeah,
Oh.
they double accounted at $11 million revenue. I don't know how nobody
Yeah.
caught that. That's like a fifth of our budget. So I
Right,
don't know
yeah,
how
I
you
don't
don't
know.
catch that.
I don't know how you don't catch
That's
that.
kind of a major error.
Yes.
That's why the superintendent doesn't have a job anymore.
I can imagine.
I'm sure there's somebody in the county that doesn't have a job either.
Yep. Yeah, so not good.
So do we want to go ahead and just apply this to Sanders, see where we're at? And,
Sure. I mean, in this scenario, we could actually approve both of these things because the one suspends it in the NA, the other provides an avenue for schools to handle those things. So we
I
could.
know a lot of those, I mean, those organizations are, they're tapped out too, the cost of a piece of playground equipment for elementary schools is so ridiculously high that, they're trying to save every bit of money they can. And then booster clubs are usually trying to help our store programs and
Right.
things like that. But I just wondered if, you just maybe if it's $200 and they have an extra $200, it would at least provide communication that way, in my mind.
Yep. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page so they're not mutually exclusive of each other. We could actually approve both. So. Okay.
So, first one is it legal?
Yeah.
If they do it the way Jessica says, PTO can't give the money, right?
Right. They shouldn't be doing payroll for our employees for work that's being done on behalf of the district.
Is it ratifiable and board approvable?
Depends on what the rest
I
of
think
the.
it'll depend on.
Yeah, it depends on what the rest of the package is.
Yeah. I think we can probably
Say yes for now.
say yeah for now. Does it positively impact students? No,
No.
unless the PTO picks it up.
We may have some teachers who continue to do the things they do because they want to do them for kids and not get the stipend this next year. That's a possibility.
Does it meet our interests? Saves $30,000 in the district's budget. It does provide an avenue if they want. Is it equitable, logistically feasible? Can the budget support it? That's why we're here, right?
Yep.
Is it understandable? Yeah. Does it improve relationships? I don't know. How did you feel after your conversation with that teacher, Jess? Did you feel like?
It was a staff member, and I felt like, I mean, again, like I said, it's a
Yeah.
compromise. It really truly is. Would you rather have, I mean, this allows us to provide that. So that's the tricky thing. So did they feel better? I don't know if they felt better, but they felt more informed.
Well, it contributes to
Right.
providing the other things.
Right.
It's not solely,
Right.
there's so many factors that go
There's-
into the other things that you described.
Right.
So then we would need to then, if it's voted on, we would need to make sure we put in the negotiating
Yep,
agreement
I'll just-
suspended 1 year.
Yeah.
Do you wanna vote first?
Yes.
before we do that?
Yep. You're leading this circus.
am?
Yep, go ahead.
I feel like I should have sat there.
Jason, question. If is going to be in the negotiated agreement suspended for a year, because that language will end before or after we vote?
After.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I would recommend the language would be suspend for fiscal year FY25
Or
fiscal year
2024, 25.
Just so that we're specific that
Yeah.
when we have the specific
Yeah, we'll
date.
put the date.
Yeah.
And so then, just so the group knows as well, we have thumbs up, which means you're in agreement, thumbs sideways, which means you may have a question. If you have a question, you can ask it at that time, or you don't have to. Thumb sideways can mean you're okay with whatever the decision the rest of the people agree to. Thumbs down means you disagree, and this group doesn't move on until we get your thumb sideways or up. So that's kind of how that goes. Any questions on that? Anybody? Shannon, Mark, are you okay with that?
Yes.
I think everybody else has been here.
Yep.
So all those in favor of the current suggestion on the extra due pay? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways. I gotta go there.
Okay, so,
I have questions.
so we have 5 sideways and 6 sideways? 6 sideways and 4 or thumbs up.
Any discussion for anybody? Extra?
Jason, do you want it here so it's not lost and we can put it in,
Put it at the top.
and I'll put it in red.
That's not what we said. We said fiscal year.
Or we said both.
They mean the
They
same
mean
thing.
the same thing. Which would you, I mean, I don't care the language, I don't know, sometimes people get confused when you say fiscal year 25, people think that that means the 25-26 school year instead of the 24-25 school year, so I will put whatever you want.
We could do slash FY25.
I'd rather that.
Okay? Is everybody okay if I do that?
But I'm not in today, but you can do that. I don't know if there was another.
Okay, the only other thing in the negotiated agreement is the advanced professional dollars. Oh, here it is.
G.
I suppose for brainstorms under 8, we probably need to put what the board selected Monday night. Which is, so it's freeze the amounts of the 20 through 24 and allow for steps. Right?
Except
Except for the,
because.
yeah, well, we're freezing it at this year, so it only goes to 8.4.
We could cover this too, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Is that right?
And when you're freezing them out, that it's, it only goes to 8.4, not 5. Yep.
Okay, my brainstorm is everybody gets their steps, everybody gets the full money that's going to be allotted via the state next year.
Any other brainstorms? All right, let's apply the standards.
So how do we do it?
But we do the first one first and then the
Suspend.
second one, yep.
Is it legal?
Yep.
Is it ratifiable?
I think so.
It's up to the vote that you have, correct?
Yeah. Does it positively impact the students? Does it meet our interests?
So our interests typically are recruit and retain highly qualified people and be fiscally responsible. Those are
First part,
typically
no.
the two.
The second
The
part,
second
yes.
part would be yes, yeah.
First person, that's resounding no, for sure.
Is it equitable?
No.
And logistically feasible? I don't think the one the board approved on Monday, I don't see how we could even come close to being equitable on that, because the people in year 5 for the second straight year now will be giving up money, their funds. And
We don't have anybody in 8.5 yet. Next
This is
year.
the
But
first
last year,
Next year's the
all
first year.
those people got their 8 funds instead of Governor Little's pay to go into the salary schedule, and so they didn't get to take advantage of both. And so now we're suspending the 8.5, but according to the proposal, everybody else in that 8 is gonna get it, except for the year 5 people. So 2 years in a row, they haven't done it, and I don't see how that's equitable or fair.
It's definitely not equitable.
So I guess another brainstorm could be to just freeze at 23-24 and not allow for steps. And that way it maintains equitability, nobody's moving, everybody stays status quo.
Yeah, that's a brainstorm. My brainstorm is use the fund balance for this year to cover the 440.
That would put us below the 8%.
But you had said before we made all these cuts that after all the money comes in, we would be at 9.7%.
9.33.
We're at 9.33 estimated. So I did my best guess to estimate where we would end the year. Payroll should be pretty close. There's some things that need to be paid out still. I did my best guess to estimate where we would be operationally. If any of those come in higher, for example, we're still traveling for state athletics and things like that. If any of those operational expenses outside of payroll come in higher, that fund balance will be lower for next year.
Can you put that there next to step
So
slash
9.33?
all?
We're at 9.33
including
estimated at this point.
8.
Okay, and
We're
how much
going to
money is that
8.5
compared
people.
to 8.3?
My math shows that we're at 8.62% if we do that.
Okay.
If we do that.
If you do what?
If we
Do what Jason just talked about.
Use the
What-
full, use the
what,
fund balance. to pay.
what number are you using, Bill, to
The
figure?
number from Jessica's,
The 454.
yeah.
I
What
do-
number are you using, I guess, to figure out the percentage of the fund balance?
Her numbers from what she presented to the board the last time she presented.
At the budget workshop,
Yeah.
the packets that we got.
Right, okay.
Give me just a second.
4.44 million and some change was 9.33%. Which if you reverse it, that's $47 million in the budget, 47.59. If you take 454 grand out of that, that decreases the fund balance by not quite 1% to 8.62.
And my rationale thinking, I know one of the arguments is always, could it sustain it? We usually don't like to go into the fund balance if we're gonna have to sustain that. But we've already said that through attrition, we're gonna get those numbers back down, and through attrition, the amounts are gonna be less every single year, and so you'll eat that up next year when we have retirees and people that vacate. So you could definitely readjust and relook at those numbers, and so it would be logistically and economically feasible for us to do that based on what our plan is to get our number of teachers down.
Right, the other piece, or I guess the other side of that coin is we're also in a declining enrollment period, so we may, like this year we had 12 positions that we didn't fill, but we're still 59 positions more than what the state funds us for. And we are literally getting free all of the 271. It's gonna be a little bit more than, but now that we've cut the 12, but if we stick with the 271, we're literally getting $48,000 for every single teacher in the district, which would put you on the first step of the salary schedule. So at some point,
Yeah, but that number is significantly impacted by how many people we're paying to.
right, well, even if we just had the 215, you're at 60,000, which is not, I mean, we're asking, we have to talk about a levy, and I asked Jessica to figure out for us, how much do we get from the state for salaries and how much are we actually paying, because I think that gap is widening, and that has to be part of the levy conversation.
Do we have proof that that gap is widening, or is it the same?
That's what I asked. That's what I just
She asked me
said.
today, and I apologize. I have not had time to calculate.
I just
want-
think that it's, I think it's fair. I think it's the only thing right to do. You don't, we've had many of those conversations in the past. I don't need to reissue those, but I also think it's sustainable because of the people that we're gonna let go. And if we have less students, then we're gonna let less people go and keep it doing through attrition. And so it'll just constantly be.
I just don't know if we can cut through attrition enough to match the declining.
No, he means over the next couple of
The
years.
next couple of
Well,
years.
and not only teachers, I mean, we'll be cutting classified and administration too, right? We're overstaffed on those areas as well. It's not just teachers we're overstaffed on that end.
Right.
So we can be cutting there too.
So I have a brainstorm. Right now, I mean, our fund balance is estimated, and we don't know what enrollment is going to look like or anything. I suggest that maybe we freeze all amounts for 23-24 until we have final numbers for the fund balance. And then if our fund balance comes in at a certain acceptable percentage, that maybe then we address movement for everybody.
Are we going at a time through them, or are we just talking about all of them in big?
However you want to do it.
Yeah, this is just brainstorming, so I mean, you can say anything.
Okay, well, because that one still is inequitable.
Yeah, it's not that we're moving from one topic to the other, they're all just brainstorming.
Yeah.
too that, I'm hearing from, you know, just a lot of people that have watched and been paying attention to what's going on. You know, in times that are tough, when you're making cutbacks, 1.2 million, board did a good job of going through all of that the other night. You don't increase your savings account at that time. So ours would be increasing because we were below the 8.3%, and then with all the estimated funds, we would be going up to a possible 9.3%.
Yeah, I don't think
Wait.
that's accurate.
We would balance. We would, the way that the budget's being built for next year, the only thing that would potentially be going into fund balance if everything was spent true to what the budget is would be $3,000. That would be the only thing that is going into fund balance for next fiscal year.
No, I think
Okay.
if I understand what he said, I think he's saying that we ended last year at 8 point something and we're ending this year at
Well, I
9.3.
believe it was in the board workshop that I believe you say we felt that at our current projection, we are below the fund balance. If we make all the projected, if all the money comes in, then how did that 9.3 get there?
The 9.3 is based on the calculation of our expenditures versus the fund balance. So our expenditures, our estimated expenditures for this fiscal year divided by the estimated ending fund balance is where we get the 9.33%. So it really truly is expenditures divided by remaining fund balance.
Yeah.
So.
And so then what was our fund balance at the end of last year? Or what percentage?
It would be, we would be up just a tiny bit because I mean, based on estimation, sorry, let me pull up one more. I don't have one. So we began the year with 4.5 million in fund balance. And we're using some fund balance because we're ending the year with an estimated 4.4 million. So we're actually losing fund balance this year if all estimates come in. Because if you do recall, when the budget was built last year, the estimated ending fund balance for last year was supposed to be $6.2 million, which is what we should have started this year with. Because of the overages last year, we only started the year with 4.5 million. And we're projected to end the year with 4.4 million.
Which actually is good news because
It was gonna be
the
a lot
budget
higher.
was built for us to eat into the fund balance by 750,000. So the fact that it's just 100,000 is, Jessica said no a lot this year.
Quickly doing the math based on the adjustments for those 12 in the salary-based apportionment worksheet, by taking out the 12 positions that are in that 271, it actually only increases the weighted average per employee to $60,582.15, which is a difference, basically an increase in revenue of $54,000.
Yeah.
So it's not a significant increase. And again, just to remind everybody, that weighted average includes the state's career ladder, it includes MABA stipend, or MABA funds,
Right.
it includes the 8th round, and it includes CTE certifications. So that is all rolled into that weighted average number. We don't receive separate funds for 8 or masters or anything, it's all rolled into the total.
process. Just see if we can narrow them down. So the first one is to freeze the amount. I guess that's the board's projection, right?
Mhm.
What they agreed to.
That's the 115,000 that's on the worksheet.
Why does it cost $115,000?
Because we're adding anybody who's moving from a P5 to AP1, so we projected that, and then basically moving anyone who was AP1 to AP2 or AP2 to AP3, etc. So that's where the dollar amount came from.
And then I was gonna ask you too on the calculation, I talked about in the board meeting, and then Brooke and I just quickly shut up because we were interrupted, but I apologize for that, Jessica.
It's like,
But can you tell us how that 440 or the 454 came about for the
yep,
latch?
so it's essentially my understanding on how this AP stipends were built were the difference between the AP rung and P5. So because of this year's change, the difference between P5 and AP5, for example, was 11,500. AP4, the difference would go from 7494 to 9,500. So with all of those increases multiplied by the staff and their movement, that is where the 454,000 came from.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was just taking that number and going by AP5.
Right, it's not just AP5, it's I included everybody because that's the full picture that I have to present. I can't just say only AP5 people get it.
Thank you.
You wouldn't want that, would you? Seriously, I mean, you wouldn't advocate for just the AP5s and not the others, would you?
No.
No,
No.
we would never.
But at the same time, I wouldn't advocate for the first four or
Exactly.
nothing for the
No.
five. So, I mean, that was,
It's
it
inequitable
goes
either way.
reverse, it's equitable either way.
So that's kind of why at both those brainstorms, I understand it's not equitable, but also it's not in the budget at all to be able to increase each one of those steps. And I do want to honor our people that are already in that AP4. You guys have worked hard. There are a lot of you, and so that's where that biggest chunk comes from. And that's why I think the most equitable thing would be to freeze the steps of where everybody is at. The people that will get slided are those that are P5s that go into AP1, because then they won't go into AP1. There is not many of those people. I say on an average, I'll probably have maybe 10 or 15 teachers that move into that AP1 this year. That's why I also proposed, to see what our final numbers are for our fund balance, because although we have enrollment happening right now, it's not going that well. And we'll have better numbers in August. We'll know, we'll be through our audit. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
There is still concern about the sustainability of implementing that. Truly,
Right.
there is concern. I recognize that we have some potential wiggle room in the fund balance next year, but that's not the case necessarily going forward. If we use up that fund balance and we can't break even or add to it, then in the future we'll be below that 8% mark that we need to be. And so that's where I'm concerned that it's not sustainable. Ideally, in a perfect world, stipends are not a protected thing. They're not. Ideally, what I would like to do, and that's going to take work and it's a lift, is to potentially adjust our career matrix, our salary matrix here, add maybe a couple more lines at the bottom, put some more money at the back end of it, and then move people. And it might be 2 to 3 steps if we, based on where we included your APE stipend in that calculation last year, move them 2 to 3 steps to get them to where they should be, and then do away with the APE stipends completely. I think that would be more equitable. It would be protected because it's part of your base salary. It wouldn't be something that would be negotiated like this.
And yes, we would probably have to add a few steps at
Yes.
the end of that salary matrix
Absolutely.
to help, some of you that are already at the tail end of that salary matrix.
But that would be more sustainable in the long run, and it would be protected. It would be protected. This wouldn't be a negotiation, it's part of the base salary.
Either way, I mean, we're gonna have that money going to salaries, whether it's in $8 or in the salary schedule, or else we will get 0 teachers here. We cannot fight. Post Falls has a 4-day week. I'm a new teacher, I'm trying to get in Post Falls. Coeur d'Alene has better health insurance and better pay. I'm trying to go to Coeur d'Alene. This is my 3rd option. We've got to do something about pay. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I know people that teach at both of those school districts.
Our pay is higher than Post Falls. Our
Right, but they work 4 days a week.
But they also have less contract days.
That's why they get paid a little less.
Don't use 4 days a week.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying we should go to 4 days a week, but we're competing against that law.
Don't even bring it up.
Well, but do you not admit we're competing against it? I mean, we are competing against, we're part of this
Just
process
because
is retaining
somebody
and
else
recruiting.
makes a mistake, we shouldn't make the same mistake.
That's a one opinion for sure, but one of our processes IBB is recruit and retrain and to retain. Recruit, 4-day work week is something people have.
I
People like it to have
understand
4 days.
recruiting perfectly. That's why if you were at the board meeting the other night and you watched us walk carefully through, making sure we got the steps in there, we got the health insurance in there, we got everything in there that we could.
Right. I still think we are overstaffed in a lot of areas. I think that we could cut some more maybe perhaps and get there. But I think it's not equitable to not give the P5s. Something, yeah. Those are the same people that lived through the freezes during the Luna laws. They're the ones who've been loyal to the district and been here a long time. Distinguished qualities as a teacher year after year after year, and you want to say, yeah, sorry, not you. So I don't see how that's equitable.
So based on that, the only equitable thing to do, and I'm not arguing any of what you just said, but the only equitable thing to do would be to freeze everybody. Because we do not have the funds, unless we eat into fund balance, to do.
I think that's what we think should
That's what,
happen.
yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
That's what they proposed.
I understand that.
What's
And
the
we'd still be
actual dollar amount between the 8 and the 9.3?
Yeah, it'd still be above 8.3.
It would still be above, yes,
So you'd
but then
still
we
be-
wouldn't be sustainable.
you're still in
going
the
forward.
safe
And then we're-
operating
I understand, but I didn't hear the dollar amount.
It's 454,000.
That's for the 8 money.
Where does that,
But what's the dollar
between the
difference
8.3?
between the 8.0 and the 9.3 fund
Let
balance?
me figure that out. Can you just? You, Bill had calculated it would put us at 8.62 for fund balance. 8.62. Do you have the total, Bill, for what that would? The total.
What it would be,
Yeah, I trust physics.
4.104.
4,104,999.
81 cents.
He wants to know the difference between what,
Between here and here,
if
how
we
many
had an
dollars are in there?
8% fund balance,
Oh.
and if we have a 9.3, what's the dollar difference? That's what he's
It's
asking.
about $1 million, I think.
Not quite.
A little under.
335,735.
No, from 8.3 to 9.3.
That's what I was saying.
8.62 to 9.33.
Yeah.
I think, is Bob wanting to know 8.62 or 8.3 to 9.3?
8.3 to 9.3.
Yeah.
That's what you're asking for.
8.62, correct?
Yeah.
8.62.
What Bill is saying
What
is
I
if
was
we
asking
spend the
for is-
$454,000 from fund balance, it'll take us from 9.33% fund balance to 8.62 fund balance.
335,000.
So there's more than
435,000 there.
Well, that's if, our
That's if our
estimates
estimates
are
Assuming,
accurate.
that's assuming.
Yeah.
That's the part that's
That's
the,
accounting though, that's what you have to do, they're all estimates, everybody's estimating.
That's
Right.
right, but
That's
I would
why-
like final
Yeah.
fund balance numbers, that's kinda,
But we're basing our whole budget on money that hasn't come in yet for next year. So So you could argue everything we spent.
Right, but we have good estimates from the state on what we're receiving based on the information that went through the state legislature, everything that we have received from them.
Yeah.
And the calculations that we have to do in order to build our budget based on revenues, those numbers are pretty solid.
Yeah.
It really, the only thing that it will potentially throw us off is if enrollment, our best 28 weeks, our midterm ADA support units, if they don't hit where they should, then that will throw off next year's numbers. If we fall into protection for next year, we could potentially be less than the 215 I'm budgeting.
Yeah. Did you hear on the protection that the state has said that it's
They rescinded it, yes. They had
under 1%?
Under 1%. They had a webinar where they estimated it would be 5%. Truly what I feel is they were overestimating because they were so off last year.
Yeah.
They were a little gun shy to provide an estimate this year. Historically, it has been very minimal, less than 1%.
Yeah.
So they're estimating about 1%. Again, we're not the only district in the state that is experiencing declining enrollment and lack of attendance. I mean, really, truly, this shift from enrollment to average daily attendance has impacted so many schools in drastic ways.
Yeah, it's
in
probably in the 90% range.
It's unprecedentedly high for how many schools fell into production this year, which is why the ratio was so high for protection. I mean, it cost us 10 support units this year, and that's significant.
So did we get any of those units back?
No, because it's based on enrollment and attendance this year, and we had declining enrollment, and we have a 92% attendance rate. So no, we're not getting those back and projecting instead of being at, we were protected at 222.5 units. Technically, we're only at 220 this year. So we were protected at a higher amount. So next year, I'm projecting us to be at 215 because of that decline in enrollment. I think we'll stay out of protection, but really only the attendance and time will tell through the end of this school year. So again, if we're off on that and they take some more and our projection, we're saying, I think we're gonna hit at 215 and we hit at 213, I'm losing 2 support units and that's lost revenue. And then my numbers here that I'm estimating that I feel good about right now are gone. And then we're looking at mid-year, how do we cut more out of the budget?
That's why the fund balance is so important. That's part of your protection for those kind of shortfalls.
Any other brainstorms?
I think as we go through these, as far as what you guys think is ratifiable, are the things that we're feeling we can fiscally do. So up there, the only one that may be ratifiable and fiscally responsible would be the last one where we just wait and make sure that it fits in the fund balance, which would be the audit report would be given at the October board meeting, and that's typically when we start paying the APE stipends is in October. So that's when, as long as we have that cushion there, then we could do it, but then at least we know for sure that we have it.
What if we don't?
Right, then we're back to the.
Nobody gets anything.
Well, no, the proposal is that we freeze them where they are at, so they would get their 23, 24 stipends. And then if the fund balance comes in higher than what we thought, then we can add on money. It would be maybe an MOU that we kind of come back together maybe to see, depending on what the fund balance is, how much additional money we can tack on. I don't know.
So, Bill, I'm getting about 8.32%. So if you take the difference between the 454 and the 115, because we would take the 115 off, because if we were doing the full amount, it would be the 454 less the 115. So that's going to come directly out of fund balance. So I have to subtract that from the fund balance, which would put the fund balance at 3.986. I divide it by basically adding that in, it would put me at 832. So the fund balance would be 3.986 for next fiscal year, if we were to implement that.
What percent was that?
8.32, which is
Exactly 1 month revenue.
And but still considered healthy.
Expenditures. Yeah, that's the bottom of our.
That's the
bottom of our policy.
The reason I'm having, I understand. I hope you guys all understand that. I understand where we're coming from. The number one thing that was on our list on our survey was aid funds, and it's going to be a hard sell to do anything but give to the people, because they were designed to give it to the people who earned it. And if you can argue that it's supposed to be put into the salary schedule, well, yeah, it could be put into the salary schedule, but not for everybody. I mean, because that's not what the aid funds were intended for.
Right.
It's advanced professional, and it starts in year 8, which really starts in year 5 if you get it in year 8. But the whole reason for this was for the distinguished teacher, because we had been putting so many funds back into the top end of the schedule for so many years. Governor Little saw that, and he said, we need to do something for our experienced staff. And that was the whole reason this was created.
Which is where I think if we could change the salary matrix moving forward and roll this into that and make it equitable, and that
Yeah, I agree. If
I just,
you can do it
that lift is hard right now with the time frame that we have. I think if we work together as a team to get that done throughout the next fiscal year, this would be a moot point. It really truly would, because it would be protected. It would be part of your base salary. It would be a non-issue, and we could honor that experience and that distinguished by putting it at the end.
I say we work on that starting in September.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can put a group together and start doing that, because I think all of our members would say that's a great idea.
I think it's more sustainable. It's more fair. Personally, that's what I think. And then it's not something that we're negotiating.
See, and the problem is when you look at the state website and you look at your run, it's going to say AP 5, $11,500.
Right, and
then when I go to my pay stub and I see AP 5 and it's $74.40, I'm giving that difference to people who have not earned it, and that is not.
But that's not how it comes to us, and I guess
But that's not, with all due respect, that's not our problem, because of the fact that we were the ones that were encouraged to get it. We put in the work to do it. I mean, it'd just be like somebody gets a master's degree and we say, we're not going to pay you, we're going to do BA 24. There's no difference. There's no difference in that, in my opinion. I could be wrong, that's just my opinion, but I just think it's going to be a hard sell for the intent of that aid funds for people to give their money to people who haven't earned it. But I agree with Jessica 100%. I think, maybe we could come up with something equitable down the road, which I guess proves that if we could just get through this year and then work on the next year to put it in, I don't know.
And I do want to remind you, we're not honestly receiving $11,500 for each teacher that is on the state's career ladder, because it is an average based on our support units. We do not see direct flow through for every single employee that's getting 8.5. We're not seeing that. We just don't. I shared the calculation with you. I walked you through it. We literally truly are not getting Jason Bradbury is AP 5, I'm getting 11,500. We're just not. It's a weighted average based on our FTEs, the state's career ladder. Our salary matrix is so far above and beyond what the state pays, and then we're paying APE stipends and MABAs on top of that. So we're supplementing that with supplemental levy and fund balance.
But the state's also giving you extra funds for BD 24 and MA.
There, but it's incorporated in
It's
that
all
calculation.
part of the calculation.
It's all part of that flat,
Yeah, but that
flat amount.
calculation only works out to 48,000 for you guys, cause you divided by 271 teachers instead of 220.
Right, so if we, but it would be 60,000 if we just did it based on the 219. 60,000.
Which isn't that surprising to me, given that we pay more than the state pays us.
Right, but that
Right.
60,000 includes your master stipend
Yeah, but
and
that
your
60,000 over
8.5.
220 employees makes your number that you're over way less than it has been for the last 10, 15 years. Just because we pay more. We just do.
Mhm.
Every teacher
And
we have, we pay
and we
more than
need
the
to.
state.
And our
allocates.
teachers deserve every penny they're getting.
And that's,
nobody.
we're not advocating for cutting staff either, we're just saying like,
But we can't have
every
it
single
both
year we
ways.
start talking about salary, we end up talking about how many teachers we have, and we don't get to negotiate how many teachers you guys hire. We just get to negotiate what we get paid out of what you get.
Right.
We do operate on a small neighborhood school platform. The state does not fund on a small neighborhood school platform. We have smaller class sizes.
That's true, but that's also not anything that we get to negotiate over.
Mhm.
And that's also, those class sizes are also gonna go up through attrition. I mean, automatic,
If we're gonna start negotiating over that stuff, we need to start this process way
and that's
earlier.
a tough decision for the board, because I know the board is adamant about keeping small class sizes, but at the same time, you know, we're also wanting to balance the budget, and, you know, I mean, so that's a tough one.
Yeah, but it always comes down to what you're willing to sacrifice in order to gain
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
You know, and that's truly right where we are right here today. You know, we made the effort to put everything into it that we could the other night. And when I hear you saying that's not good enough, and I understand that, you know, I've heard that lots of times in the past.
But see, I don't believe we're asking for anything extra, we just want we're just asking for the salary schedule that we adopted and the 8 funds that are owed.
I understood.
I mean, it's not like we're asking for, you know, raises on top of what we already did, which is what we've done in the past.
Well, let me ask you one pointed question. If we did exactly what you've asked for, are we done?
I think it'd be 100% ratified.
100%.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Go.
Guess we're voting.
But now, with all due respect, Bob, I sat in a meeting on Monday, and the board was clearly against that. The board's clearly against me and my stipend for what I do, which I still don't understand that. I believe I saved this district a lot of money. So it goes back to the question, you know, Ramona's not here. Once again, we've adopted our schedule for her and she's not here. I don't know why she's not here, but this is the 3rd consecutive time she hasn't been here. And I don't appreciate hearing things on Monday from the board talking about budget and cuts with input from a person that is on the IBB team, with all due respect, and is not here.
I hear you.
And so it's just I feel that needs to be said, but,
And I'm only 1 out of 5, you know, so.
no, I agree, but again, you have to,
And we appreciate
and I would
it.
hope, you know, our members, 192 people picked us 5, right? And so when we go back, we have to feel comfortable that we're gonna sell this. I need you to feel comfortable that you're gonna sell it. And maybe you do, maybe you
I'll
don't.
do my best.
Yeah, and
That's all I can do.
And that's all we can do too. I hope so, but I just, yeah, I know.
I think the only saving grace in voting for this and saying yes is that these are truly stipends, and so if they have to be one time, they can be one time.
And the statement will remain. I always come back to that statement that we put in there every year about 8.5. And that's there for a reason, right, Jason? The reason.
Criteria for maintaining 8.5 will be an ongoing discussion.
Well, now it would be 8.5 and above.
Well,
I
But
think
there's
that-
no above. It's
It's
just-
it's done,
It's
sorry.
done, 8.5
But
is
I
done.
think the
That's it.
suggestion was if we do this now, then starting in September, we would bring a team together so we're not talking about 8, we're just talking about budget.
Salary
Absolutely,
schedule.
it's
Yes.
just salary
Salary
schedule, and we can do away, if we can ratify that, we could do away with this portion of the negotiated agreement. It would be just a moot point, and then we would talk about if we're able to provide a COLA on the salary schedule.
And then, to help you, Lisa, I know you've had this conversation with me many times about what do we do after year 5 as far as those teachers have earned it. This group met briefly after the board meeting, and we would even be willing to say those teachers still have to earn it every year if they want to get that 8.5. And if they don't get the 8.5, then they automatically go back to the 8.4. And then the next year they can try again for 8.5. So that would be a cost savings for the district. That's a tough position for a principal, but again, these are tough times, right?
That's also
So
logistically really difficult.
But if we do it in a salary schedule, we can't do that, right?
Right,
That's-
correct.
That's just if we state 8, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. I do think it would be worth discussing, one of the items on your IBB considerations was longevity bonus with retirement tiers. I think that would be something that we could potentially look at as well, to recognize those distinguished employees.
As part of the.
As part of that.
The improved salary schedule.
I mean, that's something you had asked for, that's just not something we're able to do this year, but if we could fix the salary schedule, remove the 8, we could potentially do something with that.
Well, and we as a group as well, we had a whole list of things on there that we wanted to talk about. We ended up saying that if we could get this, then
Bless
we
you.
could wait for next year. And that's also a help to you guys. But-
Well, and I mean, this is an assumption, but because we're at the end of the career ladder, I would assume the state is going to increase the career ladder funding.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
We can only
Never-
hope they do
never
do it this
assume.
year.
No, I understand.
I mean, they only
But
gave admin
trying
and
to assume what
classified
the state's gonna
this
do is pretty crazy
Exactly.
at this point.
It would actually be nice if the state would at least put the
Yeah, right.
6359
Right, into
that they
statute.
allocated for staff into the career
Statute.
ladder, instead of having 2 separate allocations. That makes no
Yeah,
sense,
yeah.
so.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think we can do to improve this process moving forward. I really truly do. I wish we had more time to fix it this year, cause I think it would help, but.
Yeah, we'll just start in
Okay.
September. Alright, let's vote.
Well,
Oh, we're not done.
well, I just want to be, before we move on, so I'm willing to sacrifice my stipend if it helps get this approved. But I think I deserve a why from the school board on why they're taking that away when it's been 7 years of great working relationships with both our members and the district. I feel I saved the district money. I sent you guys, I don't know if did you receive the document I shared with you after the board meeting?
He sent an email to all
An
the
email to
board
all
members.
the board.
I haven't seen it, Jason, I'm sorry.
So before Bob speaks, I guess I do want to speak up a little bit, and just be on record that I really do believe that the reason we have so little to discuss in IBB is because we handle a lot of those issues outside of IBB because we work so closely together. You know, somebody said at one point that they were concerned that the LEA would think that Jason was working more for me than for the LEA because we pay them, but I don't think that's the case from the membership's perspective, but.
No, I've always assumed the money is because of how much he works outside of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do wanna go on record, and I let the board know that when we were talking during our IBB meetings, but, I do value our working relationship, and I think we do a lot of good work on behalf of our teachers and our students, because we work so closely together, so.
And I'll just add to that, I think Jason does a really good job of having a great pulse of what's going on. And so he'll bring stuff to us and it's like something we would have never heard, and so then if there is a miscommunication or an inconsistency, like we can stop it right at the start before it ever takes takes life, but it would take life because we wouldn't have known about it. So, I mean, we have a really structured agenda. I think the principals really appreciate it because if there's things going on and they don't know something, again, Jason just does a really good job of staying on top of what's happening to help streamline that communication to all of the district, not just Lisa and I.
I just appreciate that we have not had a year of black shirts.
I've heard about the black shirts.
After they cut my stipend, I was ready to.
Wear the black again? Bring it out.
But
That's a fair question, Jason, and I would encourage you to approach the chair of the board for your answer.
Is it appropriate to, how would you do that?
You can do it independently.
I would rather approach the board as a whole, in my opinion. I don't know the relationship that I have with the board chair is one that, just from the feeling I get, you know, I don't know. I guess where I'm coming from is I have no clue why you took my stipend away. I think it's political, and you know, I missed, Dave Quimby said that taxpayers should not be paying union. Well, yeah, we are not an official union. We can't be, because an official union, you have mandatory people entering, right? And then you have mandatory requirements and different forms that you can follow. We're an association that's 100% voluntary, right? And we can offer protection, due process. My whole goal is due process. Everybody that I've worked on, everybody in this room I've worked with before in helping them, and my sole focus is due process for the employee, and as Lisa will tell you, for the district. There's been many times where I've sat in closed room and told an employee, you're wrong here, I will sit with you and I will support you, but I think you're wrong, and I don't think you're going to go anywhere, and we need to work with the principal. And so, I mean, I see both sides. I don't like the political game. I don't like it because my opinion is I feel like the board doesn't want to get called out for supporting a union. I'm not a union. I'm a person that works for our members in our district, and I help them. And I think what I do is valuable.
It is, without a doubt.
And it's only $5,000 compared to a $66 million budget.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. You asked me if I was dead. I don't know. We were going to put that on the table.
I hear and appreciate what you're saying. You and I have known each other for a long time.
You hired me.
And I know the value of your position, not only as a teacher, but in your position with the LEA and what you've done over time.
I don't know, the board has to run it, or has to approve it.
And it's, in many respects, an invaluable resource, as has been indicated by administration. There are a couple of thorns out there, not on my behalf, but some of the rest of the board, and you know, I can't speak for them. I guess is my problem here.
I would just hate to see this become a wedge between our association and our district office. Because we've been in a situation where we've had a pretty big wedge between us, and that was not a great situation to be in.
I agree.
And we are in a way more collaborative space right now, and as someone who's going to be here for a while longer, I would like to remain in a collaborative space.
Absolutely.
Maybe you should speak to the board.
I don't know if I'm old enough for that.
So how do we do that? Do we put it on here and
Would it be
do it as a group, or
executive session?
is this? I mean, the board already made a decision.
Would that be exec session? That's personnel, or?
But isn't that just a recommendation from the board? Nothing was finalized until you meet with them on the 30th?
The board authorized the
proposed
district administration to follow the outline that we approved the other night. And that was a piece of it. That isn't to say that, you know, somebody's mind can't be changed. You know, so, you know, I don't know timing wise where we are here, but you know, you wanted to approach the board as a whole.
Well, I'm the one to talk to anybody. I just find it weird that my position was axed so quickly and not one board member has talked to me about my position. Not one.
Especially when you're sitting right there.
Yeah, I'm right there. Not one person looked at me, not one person asked me to defend myself, nothing.
Jason, I think the difficult thing is it is a personnel thing and that would need to be done in executive session. So ultimately, I think if that was to be addressed to the board, it would have to happen in that format. Am I correct? Right? I'm
Well,
looking to.
I just wonder, cause it's just a position we're talking about, it could be Jason in the position, myself in the position, somebody else that's here on the
True.
position, so I think it's really a position discussion versus a specific employee discussion, so I think it could be done.
I see both sides of it.
Right, I know, me too, I know.
If you're talking just about the position, no personalities involved, that can be done in open session. If
Okay.
there's an individual involved and some of the discussion revolves around that individual or individuals, then it should be an executive session.
I just think it's important that since it was brought up in open session, it's probably important that there's transparency with the conclusion in open session.
I don't have a problem with that.
What do you think, Bob? Do you think we bring it up and go through the process here and then take that to the board? Or would it be more feasible for me to talk to him in executive session?
There are a couple of wrinkles in that. Right now, if we just do what we said we're gonna do so far, we still have to sell that to the rest of the board, obviously. You gotta sell it to the rest of your membership. If we change another element here, that's a second piece that we have to sell to the board. I'd like to do that differently somehow.
Yeah.
I was just, what I was thinking was I would hate for that to be the thing that doesn't
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
negotiated agreement approved.
Well, the thing is, this stipend
It's
hasn't
not.
been a part of the negotiated agreement
And
at
I
all.
did that, I
And
screwed,
so-
or I messed myself
Right.
up on that because I did that on a favor to the superintendent. Because it was basically one of the deals where we didn't wanna lock a person in where maybe there was a contentious attitude towards the superintendent and that person, and now they're forced to meet once a week, or they have all these things, and so it was one of those deals where I never pushed it because.
Right. I'm just worried that, I mean, first of all, I know that there's gonna be some board members that will support, the aid, and you guys continuing on with that. And this package, let's just outline it here. You guys are gonna get a step on the salary matrix. There's no COLA, but a step down. Plus then we all know we're getting, what was it, the 7.62% or 7.7, I can't remember.
Instead of 825, it's gonna be
Increase,
860.
so we're gonna
Which
move-
we do need to.
So we would move that up to 860, so all those that were on the premium plans won't have to, if they pay anything, it's very minimal out of pocket.
For single coverage.
For single coverage, right.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, those are the proposals, and I just would hate, out of all of that, if we throw in a $5,000 mix, and then your group ratifies it, and we take it to the board, and because of that, then the board's not gonna approve it.
And right now, it's not a part of the package, right?
Right.
It's outside the package.
No, yeah, the only reason I brought it up is because you said, are you done? And I wanted to be honest and
That's fair.
give you the benefit of
That's
the
fair,
doubt.
I understand.
But
And like I said, I have no problem.
But let's seek a different avenue to deal with it.
Cause the bottom line is, I have a family, and at least now when I'm doing the work and I'm at Athol at 5:30 at night meeting with somebody, I can say, well, it's my job, at least I'm getting a little something for it. But when my son's out fishing and I'm at Athol and I'm not getting paid for it at 5:30 at night, or I'm sitting in a board meeting till 11 o'clock at night, that's.
Well, that's
I have to
always,
draw-
that's part of the fun part.
And that's what I think Bill is, I think what Bill is saying is that's kind of how contentious things get, is because if you don't have anybody in the mix, and.
I understand.
Well, the miscommunication part is the biggest thing. When you have a miscommunication and it starts festering, you lose trust in one another.
And that's
We
what
haven't
Jason's so
had
great
that
at.
issue for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I
We
would like to
usually
protect
put that
that.
fire out pretty early.
Mhm. Yeah, the weekly meetings that we have with Jason, I mean, it's nice that sometimes we come together and we just have one thing to talk about and it's not anything that's burning, but we can deal with it and get it done. And I mean, when we first started IBB, we had pages and pages of things that we had to work through. And we literally, we cleaned up the language in the negotiated agreement, and then we're talking money, and that's really all we had to do this year. So that is due in large part to Jason and the relationship that we have. So we can work with Jason to figure out the best, like, how do we get that on the agenda and the best way to move that forward. But I think that's a better way to do it than tie this up.
So we still need to vote on that.
Is this one the one we're voting on?
Yes.
In conjunction, as you said, with the other. So should we outline those? Are we gonna do it as a whole package though?
I
or
would
just
start
this?
with this first,
Okay.
and then you can outline your whole package,
Okay.
and then that way, and then Jess.
Jessica's
will-
making
I'm
notes,
making
because
notes.
So it's
Brooke won't
step,
be here tomorrow, so Jessica will put together the proposal.
it's steps plus 8, full.
P5s who move into APE1 will get it, and then everybody will increase each step
Through 8.5.
through APE5
Yeah.
as outlined in law.
Okay. So Jason, you wanna go through your,
Is it
Do
legal?
we, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, we're doing, sorry. Before, just, sorry, Jason. I didn't realize you were gonna go through the standards, but, when Jessica puts the proposal together, would you guys be open to having, like an MOU between the district and the association to, begin working in September on converting the APE stipends into part of the salary matrix, so that we can also give that information to the board, so that when we bring forward that we made this change to what
Yeah,
was,
be part of the rationale for what we're.
yeah, I think it would,
Yeah.
it would provide
I think
the
you're
full
right,
picture.
context and
Yeah.
that we have I wouldn't say solution moving forward, but we have thoughts of how we can make this work moving forward and make it sustainable.
Sorry, go ahead.
You know, there might be ways to where you can actually shorten the salary schedule. Just put different money amounts in there and still require the same.
The tricky thing is, we have so many people either moving to that last step that if I don't add a couple, there's nowhere for them to go and I don't have anything to work with. So we're gonna have to add something at the end.
At least one more, because we have to be able to put additional money on there for the people at the bottom to be able to make it work for them, so.
I mean, I recognize that we could just change the dollar amounts that are in there right now, but I do have to do a lot of fun reporting on our salary schedule compared to the states, so it'd be easier for me to add.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to
Is it legal?
derail you, yes.
Is it ratifiable? Does it positively impact students?
Some happy teachers.
Happy teachers? Does it meet our interests?
Yes,
Is it equitable and logistically feasible?
yes.
Can budget support it? Yep.
Say that again.
I was trying my ventriloquism there. Throw that your
I
way.
think you have to have it higher voice.
And does it improve relationships?
Yes.
All those in favor?
That would be a unanimous,
yes.
all in favor. Okay, so this was the last change to the negotiated agreement.
Moving
changing
from-
it from 825 to 860 per month, which covers the increase.
Anticipated increase expense of $252,000 for next year.
You got it.
Okay, so just to make sure, for Jessica, for the proposal, we have, a step down on the classified matrix, the certified matrix, and the administrative matrix.
And directors.
And the.
We have 4.
Oh, and the directors.
Yeah, classified directors.
Okay. We are increasing the district is covering the increase in medical costs, with that increase from 825 to 860 for every staff member. What else did we have on the,
I think that was.
and then the APE.
Yeah, the APE. So implement the APE. And then we'll have a statement on there that what do you say, the LA agrees to work in collaboration with
Yeah, start collaboration to
the
see.
district
Yeah.
to adjust the salary schedule for next
Yeah.
fiscal year, to account for.
Yeah,
Incorporate.
I would be
Incorporate.
careful to, don't put in anything that's gonna make it like a factual, like it has to be done. We'll look at it. We may get to a point where we're like,
We don't know how to
you
make
may
it
say,
work.
this is just not doable. So I don't want it to be in there.
I've
you're
been
gonna
playing
say-
with the numbers, it's definitely doable.
Okay. At your
See,
numbers
I
or
think
our
what-
numbers?
Yeah.
It needs to be just language that it's,
I
That-
don't,
we're coming in willing to collaborate on
Bob's
this.
always really good about that in board meetings as far as saying, don't catch yourself in a trap, so
and I don't wanna specifically say September, cause if I'm still working on audit,
Yeah.
it might be October
We
before
can just
we
say,
get to
we can just say next school year.
Yeah.
Or
and
fall.
then-
During the 24-25 school year, the LEA
And
the district,
Will-
the IBB team will come together and
Collaborate.
to
collaborate,
I'm
to,
more helpful after November.
Okay.
because of
Is
football.
that hunting season?
Football.
Football.
I'm hunting, so.
Okay.
Well,
So-
hunting is state title.
So, do you mind, Jason, I'll probably email you the language before I put it on there, just to make sure we're all comfortable with it. I'll put the IBB team on it and just say, are we comfortable with this language? I'd like to get the package out in the morning, so that you guys can.
Do you have any thoughts as to when you might be able to take this to your team?
Yeah, I'm thinking next week, I'll have to clear, we have to ratify the whole group now, we can't separate like we did in the past.
Oh,
So I have to ask Tiffany if she has availability in her gym one day after school,
okay.
and then we'll have to vote.
Okay, we have a special meeting of the board on the 29th. So if you guys can meet next week and it gets
Yeah.
ratified, then
Yeah,
we can put it
yeah,
on.
we'll make it happen next week.
We can put
And
it on the
then
agenda.
we can let Brooke issue contracts correctly for this year.
Yeah.
29th?
Yes.
It's, yeah.
I had asked for the 28th, Michelle said it for the 29th because of,
Okay, because I had it down for the 28th.
yeah,
We were
we were
looking to
going to
move
move
it.
it because of the budget thing, and then we did the budget thing early, so
So
Thank
we left it on.
20 you're okay
It's-
with the 29th?
Absolutely. Well, Brooke would probably like the 28th.
Yeah.
I'm good, I've already put together stuff.
Okay.
Somewhat, I
Now,
just have to have.
Lisa, you had said, or Jessica, you guys were looking, so you're looking at that last cell, you're not doing anything this next year for that, are you?
No.
This next school year?
No.
Cause I think those people that were put in there, they knew because they actually got a big bump, they
Mhm.
actually leapfrogged people, so I don't think that will be a huge.
And if any of those are eight
I was
people,
gonna say,
they'll
should
get,
they be
they'll get
mostly-
the eight.
So
they'll
my-
get the-
Really truly my idea for this is that spreadsheet that was used for IBB last year for that conversation, to basically duplicate that and show what the new matrix would look like, where people would fall, and show that it is equitable, comparatively. So that would be my goal with that group.
I think he's asking about this year's
Oh,
salary
yeah.
schedule.
No, nothing's changing with this
Yeah.
year's,
Yeah.
other than at the very bottom where we have the APE stipends
Right.
outlined. If that's ratified, then that would be the only change to this year's.
So there is there any language under eight that we have to change?
Those people got moved like 2 cells.
Oh, yes, right here.
And now there's people that do.
What would they have left?
Just the criteria.
Sure.
You want this
Oh, yeah.
back.
And that's what kind
Move
of.
it, yeah. Sorry to interrupt your conversation, Dennis. I think we do have a little bit of a language change right here because it says the aid funds will be paid out in the March through August payrolls or 30 days following the release of the spreadsheet from the state, which I guess is still accurate, but we typically start them in October.
We only did
Well,
that first year.
Yeah, we actually, I think we started them the 8th in September.
This year.
And that was because, I was able to finagle a report, but I had to correct some people. So I'd prefer if we can start them in October.
So can I change the language?
If available from the state, I have the.
Yeah.
And the spreadsheet from the state is just literally your classification. It's not associated with the dollar amount. It's
You could
literally
just
the
change it will be paid
classification.
out, following the release of the spreadsheet from the state.
Yeah. That'd
So
be
whenever
good.
you get it.
No, I don't know, cause I don't think you get it early. I think
No,
we
there-
finagled some, not finagled, but
Well,
we used we knew it was coming and so we just used other funds.
Would we
to-
be more comfortable with October through August, Brooke?
that's what we've been doing is October through August.
That's fine.
So I mean, we're not doing what this technically says. I mean, it does have this little caveat down here, but,
You just wanna put October through.
August.
August.
Are you guys okay with that?
That's fine, yeah. Are you okay with that, Marie?
Yeah.
Do you-
September's way too stressful, but I just wanna have accurate reporting, before I do that, especially since I do have some P5s that I know are gonna be moving.
It's a lot of work when she has to go back
P4s or
and make
P5s?
corrections.
Yeah.
P5's moving over to APE1.
Oh, P5s. I'm just thinking P4. Sorry, it's been a little bit.
There's too many P's. That's
There's a lot of.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't like all the different categories. It's too hard to follow.
Okay,
You figure out
so,
a way to talk to the legislature about that one?
the aid funds will be paid out in the October through August payrolls or 30 days following the release of the spreadsheet from the state. Do we want that language still in there just in case we don't have it by October?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, the state's been doing so many weird things this year, I just don't
Okay.
know.
They're
Okay.
very focused on the bond thing, right?
the big money for us.
Okay, so I think that's the only change. Everything else is the same. Okay.
Good.
Good, thank you.
Just the technicality and how it's worded, the stipend schedule isn't below that anymore,
It's
that's
on the
attached
salary
to the
matrix.
salaries.
Where, what,
So the stipend schedule is below. Can we say stipend schedule is attached to the salary schedule?
oh,
But
as
it's-
identified below?
Yeah, it's not identified below.
Okay.
And it's not really dependent on state allocations. Well, I mean, we can leave that in there because if we don't receive our full state allocation, technically we can potentially adjust it.
Right, so what do you want me to say there, Connie? What did you say?
Appreciate that.
It's just stipulated in the section stated on the salary schedule.